Welcome to the Folk Keeper's Hearth, where timeless tales and ancient lore come alive. Gather round as we explore the myths, legends, and fables that have been passed down through the generations, keeping us connected to our ancestors and the old ways. Do you have your cup of tea? Have you pulled up a chair? It is time. Let us begin. Before we begin today's tale, let us venture into the misty moors and shadowy corners of English folklore, where strange creatures lurk just beyond the edge of sight. Among them is the Boggart, a troublesome spirit said to haunt both hearth and hollow. Tales abound of these mischief makers, spirits that spoil milk, hide tools, tangle hair, and pull bed sheets off at night. They're known to mimic the sound of footsteps in empty rooms and make it seem as though crockery is crashing to the floor, though nothing is ever broken. Though once they may have been friendly household helpers like brownies, the Boggart is now feared for its pranks and unpredictable temper. And as the old Yorkshire saying warns, Boggarts never shift. Once one takes up residence, there's no getting rid of it. Speak its name, and it may grow stronger, or even follow you home. And so, with that warning in mind, let us now turn to the tale of the Yorkshire Boggart, a story passed down through the generations of one family's unsettling encounter with the spirit that would not be moved. The Yorkshire Boggart. A Boggart intruded himself, upon what pretext or by what authority is unknown, into the house of a quiet, inoffensive, and laborious farmer, and, when once it had taken possession, it disputed the right of domicile with the legal mortal tenant in a very unneighbourly and arbitrary manner. In particular, it seemed to have a great aversion to children. As there is no point on which a parent feels more acutely than that of the maltreatment of his offspring, the feelings of the father, and more particularly of his good dame, were daily, aye, and nightly, harrowed up by the malice of this malignant and invisible Boggart. A Boggart is seldom visible to the human eye, although it is frequently seen by cattle, particularly by horses, and then they are said to take the boggle, a Yorkshireism for a shying horse. The children's bread and butter would be snatched away, or their porringers of bread and milk would be dashed down by an invisible hand, or, if they were left alone for a few minutes, they were sure to be found screaming with terror on the return of the parents, like the farmer's children in the tale of the Field of Terror, whom the dredging goblin used to torment and frighten when he was left alone with them. The stairs led up from the kitchen. A partition of boards covered the ends of the steps and formed a closet beneath the staircase. A large round knot was accidentally displaced from one of the boards of this partition. One day the farmer's youngest boy was playing with the shoehorn, and, as children will do, he stuck the horn into this knot-hole. Whether the aperture had been found by the Boggart as a peep-hole to watch the motions of the family, or whether he wished to amuse himself, is uncertain. But sure it is, the horn was thrown back with surprising precision at the head of the child. It was found that as often as the horn was replaced in the hole, so surely it was ejected with a straight aim at the offender's head. Time at length made familiar this wonderful occurrence, and that which at the first was regarded with terror became at length a kind of amusement with the more thoughtless and daring of the family. Often was the horn slipped slyly into the hole, and the Boggart never failed to dart it out at the head of one or the other. But most commonly he or she who placed it there was the mark at which the invisible foe launched the offending horn. They used to call this, in their provincial dialect, laking wit Boggart, in other words, playing with the Boggart. As if enraged at these liberties taking with his Boggartship, the goblin commenced a series of night disturbances. Heavy steps, as of a person in wooden clogs, were often heard clattering down the stairs in the dead hour of darkness, and the pewter and earthen dishes appeared to be dashed on the kitchen floor, though, in the morning, all were found uninjured on their respective shelves. The children were chiefly marked out as objects of dislike by their unearthly tormentor. The curtains of their beds would be violently pulled backward and forward. Anon, a heavy weight, as if of a human being, would press them nearly to suffocation. They would then scream out for their daddy and mammy, who occupied the adjoining room, and thus the whole family was disturbed night after night. Things could not long go on after this fashion. The farmer and his good dame resolved to leave a place where they had not the least shadow of rest or comfort. The farmer, whose name was George Gilbertson, was following, with his wife and family, the last load of furniture, when they met a neighboring farmer, whose name was John Marshall, and the unhappy tenant. The following colloquy took place. "Well, George, and so you're leaving the old house at last." "Hi, Johnny, my lad, I'm forced till it, for that Boggart torments us so we can neither rest, neat, nor day for it. It seems like to have such a malice against t' porn bairns. It almost kills my poor dame here at thoughts on it, and so, you see, we're forced to flit like." He had gone thus far in his complaint when, behold, a shrill voice from a deep upright churn called out, "Aye, aye, George, we're flitting, you see." "Confound thee," says the poor farmer. "If I'd known thou'd been there, I wouldna ha' stirred a peg. Nay, nay, it's to nae use, Mally," turning to his wife. "We may as weel turn back again to t' old house as be tormented in another that's not sa convenient." They are said to have turned back and returned to their old house. But the Boggart and they afterwards came to a better understanding, though it long continued its trick of shooting the horn from the knot-hole. Thank you for joining me for this English folktale. All of the stories on this channel were sourced in the public domain and were collected, edited, and published by folklorists during the 19th and 20th centuries. I will be adding a new tale from somewhere in Northern Europe every weekend, so please subscribe and come back for the next one. Until then, goodbye.